defect here.
And then the fourth defect. Is there another one down at the lower end of that tailgate?
There appears to be one right here.
Okay. And I've got some closer photos.
What was that last number, council?
State's Exhibit 38. So if we go to State's Exhibit 39, tell us what that is.
This is an image depicting the rear tail light, and it appears that there is a defect here, a defect here, and this picture may not show it as well, but I can see it because I remember from examining the photographs, this is where the projectile was lodged in the interior of the vehicle.
All right, now you mentioned it earlier, State's Exhibit 41. What is it that we see there?
Right here is, again, an image depicting what appears to be a bullet defect.
All right. And on State's Exhibit 40, is that just a little bit further back to see which fender it's on?
Yes, it is.
State's Exhibit 42. What do we see there?
This is the passenger side of the Bronco, and it's showing that the passenger front tire appears to be flat, and then there's also what appears to be a defect here as well.
All right. And State's Exhibit 43, just a little better picture of that flat front tire.
That is correct.
All right, Ms. Parker. You go through tell us about, we've gone through the collection of it. How do you work a crime scene to find things to recover, photograph, and collect?
We do an initial walkthrough when we arrive on the scene to look for any and all evidence. Once we put down evidence marker documenting where evidence is, we conduct what we call a second walkthrough to look for any additional evidence that we may have missed or not noticed on the first walkthrough.
Okay. And roughly how many crime scenes have you analyzed in your career?
Hundreds. I've been doing this for approximately 12 years.
So in your initial and your secondary walkthroughs, you would have gone all the way around both the white truck and the black truck?
That is correct.
You would have walked through that grassy area in between them?
That is correct.
You would have walked through the parking lot behind the Bronco?
That is correct.
No further questions, Ms. Parker?
All right. Any cross-examination?
Good morning, Agent Parker. I'm Bill Kellum. I represent Jordan Cummins.
Nice to meet you.
I just have a few questions for you. I
Yes,
wanted to see, did you conduct any examination of the interior of the two trucks, the Silverado and the Ford 250?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay, is there any particular reason why you would not?
Just based off of my investigation, when I arrived on scene, one of the bodies were located on the ground, the other in the truck bed. Information received that the white Chevrolet was just on the scene. It was not tied to the scene. It was not a victim or subject's vehicle. And I misspoke. With the Ford F-250, I believe one of our agents did do an interior search of the vehicle, but I did not conduct a search.
Okay, do you recall which agent would have done that?
I believe it was Lieutenant Holyfield.
Are you familiar at all with any results of that search?
No, sir, I am not.
how did Lieutenant Holyfield, how did he work with you on that crime scene?
So because I am a civilian, every crime scene that we go out on, we have to have, for lack of better terms, a gun toter with us to ensure our safety, because while we're working the scene, we cannot watch our bags while we're processing. So we always have an agent accompany us on the crime scenes.
Okay. And are you certain that Lieutenant Holyfield conducted an interior search?
I am, sir.
You are? Okay. Is there any, would that have been in your MBI report?
No, sir. It was nothing that I needed to do investigatively as far as the crime scene is concerned. Sometimes our agents perform other tasks for investigative purposes. For example, if there's a cell phone that needs to be collected and dumped, that's something they would do for investigative purposes.
Okay. Can you describe, I'm pretty familiar with that area. What did the crime scene encompass? How far out? What were the parameters of the crime scene?
I do not have actual measurements. However, I did request that the accident reconstruction team come out and diagram and measure the scene. And Trooper Jonathan Smith will have those measurements and proximities available as a separate report.
Okay, who would?
Jonathan Smith.
Okay, and Agent Parker, how many vehicles were between the employee parking lot where some of your casings were, and the black Ford 250 and the Silverado? How many cars were parked along?
In the employee parking lot, or
Yes, ma'am.
I did not count the number of vehicles that were in the employee parking lot.
But you do recall there being
Multiple.
multiple, one of them being the Bronco.
That is correct.
Okay. Were any other vehicles in proximity to that Bronco? Were they searched for defects?
I believe that we checked several of the vehicles that were in close proximity, and that was the only one that we noticed had multiple defects.
All right, now, Agent Parker, would it have fallen under your purview to do any gunshot residue testing?
No, sir.
That would not be you. Who would that be?
I believe that the lead case agent is Jermaine McGee, and that would be under his responsibility.
Okay, and I believe I saw in your MBI report that casings were sent to the crime laboratory.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, what were the results?
I am not privy to the results of the findings. The findings will be sent to Jermaine McGee as he is the lead case agent.
Okay, so you would submit them,
Yes, sir.
but they would come back to Detective McGee.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Do you, during the course of your part of the investigation, do you look closely at the bodies, at the wounds of the deceased?
I don't look closely. We do just take photographs of it. That part of the investigation is left up to the medical examiner's office.
Okay, so that is so your testimony is that is outside of your scope.
That is correct.
Okay.
Ma'am.
That is correct.
I just want to make sure that I understand the sequence. All right, and this is the interior,
That is correct.
and it's on the other side of the defect that we looked at in Exhibit 12.
That is correct.
It's at Exhibit 16. That's just an additional picture of that exit and the line of the truck.
That is correct.
And this is say Exhibit 17. Is that a fragment from, or do you have
That is actually, right here is a projectile.
projectile? And that is the one that's running to, that's in the bed of the truck.
It was in this plastic tail gate that was a foldable gate inside of the truck bed.
That was up against the tailgate.
Correct. It was actually on the side. If you can put the other picture back up.
16?
Yes, let's look at 16. Yes, so you see it here in the open position, but it was actually flushed against the inside of the tailgate.
So the gate would have been up against the side of the bed.
Correct.
Okay, and then the fragment went to the gate, went into the gate.
The projectile went into the gate. That is correct.
Do you recall there being any kind of, would you send would it be outside your purview to observe or provide any testimony on whether or not there's a tissue, anything, any kind of human tissue on that?
Yes, sir, that would be outside of my scope. Excuse me, I would just collect it and send it to the lab.
Okay, so that would be another medical determination.
Correct.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for your time. That's all I have,
Thank
Your Honor.
you.
All right, stay here, your next witness.
Your Honor, this is a redirect this.
I'm sorry, read the rest. All right. All right, who do you have next? You may. sorry, I overlooked issuing that with the other rulings. I do apologize for that. All right, Jordan Jager, you may come forward. Ms. Jackson? If you come around this way and just remain standing by the witness box for just a moment, my court administrator is going to swear you in.
Test, test, that good?
Ms. Argo? Thank you, counsel. Thank you. The objection is preserved for the record. Thank you, sir. Ms. Argo,
May it please the court?
you may proceed.
Ms. Jagger, please introduce yourself to the jury.
Hi, jury. My name is Jordan Jagger.
And if you could try and speak in to the microphone a little better so that we can all hear you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Jagger.
And how are you currently employed?
I am an administrative assistant and scale clerk at FB Recycling. I've been there for a little over 2 years.
And do you know the defendant, Jordan Cummins?
I do.
And how do you know him?
I know him through my former friend. She dated him for about a year, and that is how I was introduced to him.
And what was her name?
Her name is Jeannie Lukens.
You said your former friend. Who was she to you? What was your friendship like?
Jeannie and I were very close. Jeannie and I were best friends. We did, normal girl things, go out to brunch, get our nails done, get our eyebrows done, go grab drinks sometimes. She was always there for me. I was always there for her.
You said you knew her because, or you knew him because he dated Miss Jenny Lukens. When did you become aware that they were dating? What year, what time?
So they began dating around May of 2022.
And did you hang out with them together or anything like that?
We did at first.
Did your relationship or your friendship with Jenny continue while she was dating Jordan Cummins?
It did for a period of time, and it eventually slowed down. We got very distant. She isolated herself.
So if you could tell me, did you notice any changes in Jenny after her relationship with Jordan began?
All right, counsel, you may proceed.
So Ms. Jagger, I want us to take us to March 25th, 2023, St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
were you planning on attending the parade that day?
I was, and I did.
And tell me how that day started. Who'd you plan on attending with?
So I don't know who invited who. I don't know if Jeannie invited me or I invited Jeannie. Either way, someone invited, each other to go together. Jeannie came over to my house about 9:30 in the morning. I was doing my hair, I was doing my makeup, I was doing my daughter's makeup, and I even did Jenny's makeup. She leaves my house, she goes back home, she goes to pick up her boyfriend, Mr. Cummins, and we meet up at the liquor store off of Fortification.
Could you kind of, what do you know what neighborhood that's in? The liquor store off of Fortification.
I just know it's off of Fortification. I do not know which one.
Is there any other like landmarks there?
So I believe that McDade's is kind of across from it, because that's where we went to go take pictures afterwards.
So I'm going to go back to that. So who did you end up leaving your house with?
I left my house with my sister, Brooke McFarland. We both rode in the vehicle together, and Jeannie and Jordan traveled in their vehicle.
Do you remember what type of vehicle that was?
I do not know the model of it. I know it was gold.
So what happened? You said y'all met at the liquor store, Vitamin McDade's on Fortification. What happened at the liquor store?
At the liquor store, Jeannie and I, we went inside. I got some Jameson, peach schnapps, sour mix, and Jeannie got something to make like a Bahama Mama, some type of like rum. And she also got a fifth of Crown Vanilla for Jordan.
Did you, Brooke or Jenny, drink any of that Crown Vanilla?
No, we did not.
So after buying the alcohol, where did you all go? Did you do anything else in that area?
So after purchasing the alcohol at the liquor store, we went across the street to McDade's. They have a little mural over there, little paintings that I wanted to take pictures in front of. I thought it was pretty. And Jeannie and Jordan went to McDonald's to get her something to eat. And then we all met up at the parade. Or I'm sorry, we met up in the parking spot. We parked in the same parking lot. And then we walked to the parade together.
So kind of, when y'all were taking the pictures, was the mood good? Was it light right before you went to the parade?
My mood was good. My sister's mood was good. I could tell that there was a lot of tension already, just between Jeannie and Jordan, and probably Jordan and myself, just because we didn't necessarily agree on a lot of things.
What was Jordan's demeanor at that time?
His demeanor was very cold shoulder to me.
So let's get back to you all meet up at y'all park in the same parking lot. Do you remember about what time that was, or what parking lot, what street that was?
I do not know the street, but I do know that when we walked uphill to State Street, and we went to the other side of it. So our tent was directly across from Martin's downtown. And we saw some friends under there, and we just hung out under their tent.
And about what time did you all get to the parade?
We got to the parade, I would say 11:15, no later.
And were you all drinking?
My sister and I made one drink, and we left our alcohol in the car. Jenny made her drink, and she brought hers with us. My sister and I brought our drink, and they brought the Crown with them as well.
Did you witness Jordan Cummins drinking at all?
I did not witness him drinking at all, but the bottle was gone.
So let's get to the parade. You said you went to the parade, you said you're on State Street?
Yes.
Okay. And kind of explain what tent and where you were at on State Street.
So we were on if Martins were right here, I'm sorry, I speak with my hands sometimes. If Martins were right here, we were on the other side of State Street, and our tent was in, the front row. So we were looking over the road and at Martins across the street.
And while under the tent, what was the demographic? Like, who was under this tent?
This was a family event. I had my, at the time, 4-year-old daughter with me. Both of my sisters were there. There was another little girl there, probably 5. There were multiple children playing cornhole. There were families underneath there.
Would you say it was crowded?
It was crowded. Other people had their dogs as well. It's family event.
So tell me about what you witnessed between Jenny and Jordan under the tent.
So what I witnessed between Jordan and Jenny underneath the tent that day was they had gotten into an argument.
What started the argument?
Jordan put his arm around me and just kind of touched me in a way like right here. And Jenny saw that. Jenny instantly got mad. She was enraged. And that caused an even bigger problem. They began fighting. He backed her up into a corner of the tent and was squeezing her by her cheeks, screaming at her, calling her out of her name.
You remember anything, like some of the things he said to her?
Bitch, and shut the fuck up. It's not.
It's a statement by a party opponent, it's the defendant's own statement.
Present sense impression, objection overruled. She may answer. You may proceed.
What did you listen to Jordan saying to Jenny?
He was telling her to shut the fuck up. He was calling her a bitch. He was squeezing her cheeks. And my sister stepped in and intervened between the two.
Which sister? You said you had 2 sisters. Which sister was that?
Yes, Brooke McFarland.
Do you remember anything about what Brooke said?
I do not remember her exact words, but they were something along the lines of, if you're going to be her man, you need to treat her like one.
Just a moment, Jager. Just a moment. What was your objection, counsel? Counsel, remember, there are no speaking objections. I did understand from what you said. What says the state?
None of the state would say that it was an excited utterance and a present sense impression. She was witnessing her sister as her sister was doing it, live as it was happening. Also,
Counsel,
I apologize.
state is admonished. No speaking objections or responses. Objection will be overruled. She's testifying as to the events as they occurred in front of her. The witness may testify. And when you present the objection, hold your time. You may ask.
My sister intervened between the two of them. And when she said something along the lines of, if you're going to be her man, you need to act like one, he started screaming under this tent.
You say he, who are you referring to?
Jordan Cummins.
And who was he screaming at?
He was screaming at Jenny, as he was squeezing her cheeks.
Continue on with your story.
He began to scream, "Give me my gun, give me my gun. I'll flatline this bitch right now," in reference to my sister.
Jagger, once again. What is your objection, counsel? Okay. Once again, both parties are reminded there are no speaking objections. Once again, the witness is testifying as to events that she observed. She may testify. Your ongoing objections are noted for the record. Overruled. Ms. Jager, you may proceed.
He was screaming, "Give me my gun, give me my gun, I'll flatline this bitch right now."
And who was he saying that to?
He was saying that to Jenny.
What happened? Well, who was he saying it about?
He was saying about my sister because she was the one that intervened initially in between when he was squeezing her by the cheeks. And when I say my sister, Brooke McFarland. And remember, this is a tent full of children.
Ms. Jagger, as to the give me my gun, you said he was asking Jenny for that?
He was asking Jenny for the gun, yes.
Were you aware that there was a gun in Jenny's bag?
No, I was not.
What happened after that?
The tent owner became very uncomfortable and told him that he needed to leave his tent right now. Get the fuck out of his tent, that's what he told him.
Court's ruling is the same as long as she's testifying as to events she observed and heard, she may testify.
At that point, what did Jordan and Jenny do?
They began talking. I obviously tried to pull Jenny to the side and just beg her to stay with me. I told her that I would take her home, and she would not listen to me. She went with him, and 2 people ended up dead after he threatened to kill my sister.
Ms. Jager, you may not testify as to events you did not see. Please limit your response. The jury will ignore anything she testifies to outside of the explanatory tent.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
You said, so did they leave the tent?
They did.
And you tried to get Jenny to stay?
I did.
Did she stay with you?
No, she did not.
Now tell me about what time did they leave the tent?
I would say no later than 12:30, 12:45 at the latest.
And you mentioned the bottle of Crown. Did they take it with them? Where was it at that time?
It was completely empty and they left it.
Did you and your sisters remain at the tent?
I'm sorry?
Did you and your sisters remain at the tent?
Yes, we did.
Tell me what happened. Did you hear about or from Jordan and Jenny again?
Rephrase, sustain.
Did you ever come to learn what happened with where they were, where Jordan and Jenny were?
Sustain.
Just tell us what happened next, Ms. Jagger.
Probably about 30 minutes later, there was a gentleman that was under the tent with us that received a phone call.
What is your objection? Once again, no speaking objections. You may not testify as to what someone else was told or heard if you were not on that call and it was not called to you. So as far as any testimony from this other person getting a call, that is the objection sustained, that is hearsay. It does not occur within the presence of the defendant or anything she observed within that moment.
May we approach?
You may.
can't hear that because we're at the bench, it's not distracting. But unfortunately,
Although it may seem that while we're at the bench, persons moving is not distracting, but this courtroom's very old and it creaks, and I'm trying to listen to people who are whispering. So if you don't mind, if everyone could please be still, it would help me to focus on what they're saying while they're at the bench. I appreciate that. Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen,
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 12 o'clock. And this, it's gonna take me a second or two to resolve this issue at the bench. So I'm gonna let you all go ahead for your lunch. And you'll be in recess until 1:30. While you're on recess, you have not received all the evidence in this case. You have not discussed it amongst yourselves or with anyone. You remember the instructions that you received earlier? If anyone should attempt to speak with you about this case, please notify the bailiff. You all excused. We'll start back at 1:30 with further testimony.
all rise. Jury's out of courtroom.
Let's see, you all may be seated. All right, so while we were at the sidebar, the witness may testify as to when she learned the other additional information. The court, she can testify as to being concerned after the parties left, but anything further than that, She has not testified that she saw any weapons. She said she testified she did not know where anything that was in Ms. Lucan's bag. And so the placement of any other issues after that would be inappropriate, and the court would sustain the objection as to that part. I think that under the circumstances of the events that transpired, learning of, the incident, or learning that there had been a weapon discharged would have been general information, but the state is not allowed to allow the witness to speculate as to any connection between the parties. Are we understanding that?
Yes, Your Honor. Is it possible for us to offer other questions?
You may.
Ms. Jagger, I believe we were at the part where they had just left the tent.
Mhm.
Did you later learn that there had been a shooting at the parade?
Yes, I did.
About how long after Jenny and Jordan left the tent did you learn of that?
Probably about 45 minutes.
And how did that make you, what did you do with that information?
With that information, I basically just said, this has not been confirmed yet. We don't know. I checked Jenny's location. We shared locations.
And I would have you explain, what does it mean by shared location?
It's where she can see my location at all times. I can see her location at all times.
On what device?
iPhones.
Okay.
Sorry.
And when you checked any locations, it's about 45 minutes after they left, where did her location show her to be?
Her location showed her to be at her house. So
And where was that?
Richland.
Do you about know how long it takes to get to her house from the parade? How long would it take for downtown Jackson area?
It's for me about a 10-minute drive to work in the morning, so I would say about a 10-minute drive.
Those would be the questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I would just submit to the court that none of that's relevant as to what happened with the shooting. I believe that there's ample evidence and other testimony that'll place Jenny Lukens at the agriculture department parking lot. I don't see, I just have an objection to Ms. Jagger testifying to any of that, because it's just not relevant.
Okay, the court is going to allow the state, I don't know what other information the state is connecting this to, but in and of itself, it does not in any way harm the defendant to know that 45 minutes after the shooting, Ms. Lukens was in Richland, Mississippi. It leaves open the question of, it doesn't say how long she'd been there, which is not harmful to the defendant. It just says that at the time she heard about the shooting, it appears Ms. Lukens was somewhere else and may not have even been involved in it. So I don't see, based on this witness's testimony and where that is harmful into any theory of defense case. But I don't know the state's strategy, so I'm going to allow the witness to testify to just that limited testimony. There's to be no testimony about what you learned later, or if you were not present, you cannot testify to that. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to be on our new recess. You are still under subpoena, which means that you are not allowed to discuss your testimony with either counsel for the state or the defense, or any other person who might be under subpoena. You understand?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, and now I need to have you back to the courtroom by at least 1:20 this afternoon. All right? So at this time, we'll be on recess until 1:30, when the jury should be back, and I will see all parties back at that time. But that's it.
All right.
You are free to leave. You are on recess.